Well, thanks very much for that. It's a bit of a struggle, I know, going around. And you know what, the first time I read that when we were looking at the preparation for the class, I thought, what on earth is that all about? It's quite a interesting chapter. You think, what are we going to make of that? But you know, when we started looking at it, it's quite amazing, like all scripture, just exactly what comes out of it. So those who've just joined us, welcome to second night. What we're going to do to start with is, have I not shared? That's what I seem to be doing, but it doesn't want to. There we go. I am shared, aren't I? Okay.
No, you're not sharing.
Scary when you hear a little voice come out of you. Yeah. Can I get that off too? How can I get that off? Three dots. Yeah, high video panel. Maybe it. Hey. Yeah, this is not working. Come on. This is what problem I had last week. Okay, well done. Thank you. All right, let's hope this keeps working. All right, so just everyone hold their breath for a couple of minutes. So we're just going to have a little bit of a recap for a few seconds to refresh our memory what we talked about last class, because a couple of weeks ago we talked about, you know, who was Habakkuk? Prophet, possibly a Levite. Most likely is based in Jerusalem, although it's relevant to all, doesn't mention Jerusalem. Established that it was during the reign of Jehoiakim, and Jeremiah the prophet was around at the same time. Why was it written? Well, evil was all around us. How do we respond to that? And what really is it? Well, it's a reflection on how God deals with both the wicked of his own people and also the Gentiles. We call it asking the difficult questions of life. You know, he posed a lot of questions we saw. How long will I cry and you're not here? Why do the wicked prosper? Why does evil triumph? Surely you see this, God. You can see what's going on. Surely. Why haven't you done something about it, God? Why will God punish the righteous? And how can a righteous God act this way? What have you got to say, God? I'm asking these questions. What's the answer to this? What have you got to say? Well, God answers, well, all evil will perish in their turn. I will act for the salvation of my people, just as I have done in the past. There is an appointed time, and as we'll see tonight, It's the appointed time. It's a specific time. In the meanwhile, while all this is going on, while evil is all around us, in the meanwhile, the just must wait in faith. So that's where a brief recap to bring us around to where we are tonight. So chapter 2, we've got, I will stand upon my watch. Habakkuk responds after all these things, and God has responded to him. He says, well, I'm going to stand on my watch. I'm going to climb up to my tower and stand at my guard post, one translation puts it. There I'll wait to see what Yahweh says and how he will answer my complaint. So that's how chapter 2 starts. After I've posed all these questions, after God says there is an appointed time, I'm going to bring the Chaldeans. He says, I'm going to wait to see what God does. It says, verse 2, Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. So he shows Habakkuk a vision. Firstly, he sees a vision of the Chaldeans, the destruction that's going to take place, perhaps the captivity. But he shows him also a vision of the future, a vision of the kingdom, of what lies ahead. We know that by chapter 3, verse 18 and 19, wherein he says, I will rejoice in Yahweh. I will joy in the God of my salvation. He is my strength. He will make my feet like hinds' feet. He will make me to walk upon my high places. He knows the end. And it's the same for us, isn't it? That there may be bad things lie ahead of us. There may be bad things happening all around us, happening to us in our life. And yet we know the future. We know the end result. We know if we wait in faith, God will put us in those high places. Now, verse 2 is a funny verse. Make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. You think, well, what does that actually mean? It's a really odd verse, isn't it? Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. We'll look at a few different translations. One says, write the vision, make it plain on tables so that a runner may read it. The other says, write down this message, record it legibly on tablets, so the one who announces it may read it easily. Write the revelation and make it plain on tables so a herald may run with it. Well, the Message Bible, it wants to try to get the sense of it. And I quite like it. This is verse 3 and verse 4. Write this. Write what you see. Write it out in big block letters so it can be read on the run. This vision message is a witness pointing to what's coming. It aids for the coming. Well, it can hardly wait. It doesn't lie. If it seems slow in coming, wait. It's on its way. It will come right on time. I think that's quite gives a good sense of what we're trying to say here. There's a time when it's going to come. This vision that I've shown you, God says, it will come right on time. Make it bold so a runner can read it. You see in verse 3, it says, for the vision is yet, in the King James it says, for an appointed time. It's actually the appointed time. It's very specific that it's this set time that God is working to. It's the set time. God has a plan. Because though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Though it tarry, it will not tarry. So whilst it may not be right now, it will come when the time is right. You see, God's plan will happen exactly to the timetable that he's determined. We can trust in God's perfect timing, regardless of what's going on in life. We can trust in God. We can trust in his timing. It will surely come. It is going to happen. That's the message, and that's the vision that Habakkuk saw. Yes, evil all around us, destruction perhaps coming, the call-downs are coming, but God's timetable for the future is set. It's certain. We can trust in it. And I believe this is a really critical statement. God's faithfulness is the basis of our faith. Just think about that. God's faithfulness is the basis of our faith. If God wasn't faithful, if we couldn't trust what God had said, then we can't have faith either. It's quite amazing, isn't it? Just think about God's faithfulness. There's so many scriptures that talk about the certainty of what he said. Psalm 89, my covenant will I not break, nor alter the thing that has gone out of my lips. Isaiah 40, the grass withereth, the flower fadeth, but the word of our God shall stand forever. Isaiah 55. So shall my word go forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void. It shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I do send it. It's saying, what I say, I will do. It's how we should emulate God, isn't it? To be people of our word. But regardless, the best we try, sometimes in circumstances that doesn't happen. But with God, it's absolute. If God has said something, we can be absolutely certain that it will happen. That's the basis of our faith. I am Yahweh, it says in Ezekiel. I will speak, and the word that I shall speak shall come to pass, shall be no more prolonged. For in your days, O rebellious house, will I say the word and will perform it, saith the Lord Yahweh. Well, Paul actually uses verse 3 and 4 in Hebrews 10. Just look at verse 3 and 4 again and then say, well, why does he use it in Hebrews? Why does he? It's not an exact quote, but he's referring to it. Maybe let's just quickly turn that up, Hebrews 10. Just keep your finger in Habakkuk. Let's look at Hebrews 10, verse 37 and 38. For yet a little while, so Hebrews 10, verse 37 and 38, for yet a little while, and he that shall come will come, and will not tarry. Now the just shall live by faith. If any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. So he's quoting verse 3 and 4 of Habakkuk. Why does he do that? There's Habakkuk 3 and 4. And there's Hebrews 10 that we've just read. Can anyone think why Paul would be quoting Habakkuk for Hebrews? What was going on in Hebrews?
he is about to go into chapter 11, which is all about the righteous who have lived by faith.
Yes.
So it's a good setup.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I didn't think of that, but yeah, 100%. That's 100% true too. That's right. We think of what was going on at the time of the Hebrews, while we were writing to the Hebrews. Yeah, there's things about to happen. That's right. There was an appointed time in Habakkuk. And Hebrews, Paul's saying it's just a little while. In fact, that little while, it means a very, very little while. This is just around the corner. What we're talking about is just around the corner. There's this soul that is lifted up, or in Hebrews, one who draws back. We're talking about pride here. And we'll see that as we go through the chapter. It's all about pride. We saw. Yep.
Eventually, I'm going to go back and look and think that they are invulnerable.
Yeah.
And in fact, they judge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't draw back to the old way.
That's it. Absolutely.
The instruction the Lord had given was flee to peril. Get out of here.
Yep. That's right.
In both situations, I can actually believe the message. They did not believe that God would do. They did not believe that they would be judged.
Yep.
Because they would care to keep the law. So he's saying, neither by law nor by faith.
Right.
Just
So, thanks very much. That's 100% right. So, Habakkuk, they were soon going to be taken into captivity. Chaldeans were coming. There's no place for pride here. We don't need the temple. We don't need the priesthood. They're all going to be taken away. And God would act according to his timetable. So we're told in Habakkuk. In Hebrews, as Fran said, it's a period of intense nationalism. They wanted to go back to their old ways, back to the law. Destruction was coming very, very soon. You can see the parallels there. That Paul and Habakkuk both say, but the just, with all this going on, but the just shall live by his faith.
Personal.
Yeah, that's right.
Someone else's your way.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And it's, but, you know, I always like looking at these little words that are important, you know, for and because and but. There's a contrast there. We're saying all these things are going to take place. There's going to be destruction. But, the contrast, but the just shall live by faith, by his faith. Paul used it to other places in Romans. The just shall live by faith, we see there. And look at it, it's the gospel. It's the good news of Christ he's proclaiming. It's the power of God to salvation. If you believe, if you have faith. But wrath, destruction, as it were, are coming on the ungodly and the unrighteous. Can you see how that's all exactly the same concept Paul's trying to bring out as in Habakkuk and Galatians again? The just shall live by faith. No man's justified by the law. No point going back to the law. Well, the law, the prophets, the priests, the tabernacle, the altars are all going to be taken away. No point living by that. We live by faith. So what we're being told here in Habakkuk and what Paul's picking up in Romans and Galatians in Hebrews. Regardless of our circumstances in life, whether it's our own life, whether it's the life of our family, whether it's situations in the ecclesia, whether at work or at school, whether it's society, whether it's a country, whether it's the world, things happening in the world. Hold on to your faith. Other things we've got no control over. But hold on to your faith, because he will save. He's totally faithful. He said he will do it. And that's the confidence we can have, brothers and sisters and young people. He will save. Just think about waiting for God. And that's what we're really talking about here. That's what we're doing. I've waited for thy salvation, O Yahweh. That's Jacob speaking. Our soul waits for the Lord. He's our help and our shield. I will wait upon Yahweh. You see this sense being repeated here. For yet a little while, he that comes will come and will not tarry. That's the verse we just looked at in Hebrews 10. Paul talks in Romans about having patience. We through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. And again in Thessalonians, the patience of hope. We just need to wait in faith. Then we come to verse 5. Yea, also because he transgresses, and we're talking now about the Chaldeans in the first instance, but really this applies to many. Because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man. Neither keepeth at home, he enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death, cannot be satisfied, but gathers unto him all nations and heaps unto him all people. So we're now looking at thought of pride, thing God hates. It's talking about he transgresses by wine as being overindulgent, of being excess, of always wanting more. It says it cannot be satisfied. There's an unrestrained desire. There's no concern for others. He heaps unto him all people. You don't care about other people. It's about self-satisfaction. Enlarges his desire as hell. Well, it's interesting. When you look at Isaiah 55, it's the exact opposite of that. Ho, everyone that thirsts, come ye to the waters. He that hath no money, buy, eat, and drink without money, without price. Why do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labour for that which satisfies not? Hearken diligently to me. Eat ye that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness. Can you see the contrast of those given to pride, to self-satisfaction, compared to those that are looking after God's ways? He says, incline your ear and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live. I'll make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. So we've got a contrast here. Compared to pride and selfishness, we've got God wants our heart. He will provide. There's no cost involved in that. We can delight in God's ways. There's total satisfaction. There's mercy and there's life. The complete contrast, the complete opposite to pride. Proverbs says there's three things that'll never be satisfied. Yea, four things. Say it's not enough. The grave, the barren womb, the earth that is not filled with water, and the fire that saith not is enough. Death is never satisfied, is it? So we say, enlarges his desire as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied. There's always room for one more, isn't there, in the grave? It's never satisfied. So if we follow the things of pride, we seek the grave. It's all a waste of time. What is the point of building up these things? Of enlarging our desires, as it says, when all we're going to do is end up in the grave. What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? So think of the Chaldeans, absolute epitome of pride. We know God hates pride, doesn't he? It's interesting, isn't it, that the gay movement used the word pride as their catchphrase, as it were. God says, I hate pride. To Babylon, the Chaldeans, recompense her according to her work. This is from Jeremiah, according to all that she hath done. Do unto her, for she hath been proud against Yahweh. I am against thee, O thou most proud. For thy day is come, and the most proud shall stumble and fall. Jeremiah 50. The Babylonians or the Chaldeans, the epitome of pride. The thing that God hates most. And like most things, it started in Genesis, didn't it? When the woman saw the tree, it was good for food, it was pleasant for the eyes, the tree to be desired to make one wise. It's all about self-promotion, about being better than others. That's its origin, as we know, Genesis. So many verses talking about God hating pride, pride and arrogancy. Everyone that is proud and hard is an abomination. Day will come, day of Yahweh will come upon that who is proud and lofty. Everyone that is lifted up. Even Sodom, focusing on pride. 6 things I hate, it's 7, an abomination. And the first one of those, pride. A proud look. Brother John mentioned in his exhort on Sunday, of humility is the solution to pride. That's a challenge in itself, isn't it? We can't go off and say, well, I'm going to be humble now. It just doesn't work like that. That's a challenge. So it's something that you have to work on every day. We say verse 6. And if you're into marking up your Bible, there's 5 woes here. So it's good to colour it in. Verse 6, halfway through the verse, woe to him. Verse 9, woe to him. Verse 12, woe to him. Verse 15, woe to him. And verse 19, woe unto him. Really, if you colour those in, it really helps stand out what chapter 2 of Habakkuk is about. And so, laying the foundations for this proud and arrogant nation, and really, we could be talking about people as individuals, of course. God pronounces 5 woes. We're just going to briefly look through those. Verse 6, woe to him that increases that which is not his. How long and him that lades himself with thick clay. You think, well, what the earth does that mean? It's interesting. The word thick clay in the Hebrew is abtet. Abet actually means many pledges or to borrow. So quite possibly, this is actually talking about pledges, not thick clay. It's quite possibly a mistranslation there. It's talking about extortion. See verse 7. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee? That they shall bite thee literally means that these are creditors. That's why most likely the thick clay really is those that borrow. Seems to fit in much more, makes more sense than being thick clay. It's those that are borrowed. There's extortion going on. There's extracting money out of people. We're told in verse 8, well, because you've spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. Because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. The tables are going to be turned. You may think you're getting away with that type of action, but it won't be forever. Just as you've done, so you will receive yourself. And really, nobody gets away with anything. You know, if we think we've got to, justify ourselves or get some sort of recompense on something that someone's done, there's no need for that. We can leave all things to God. We don't need to try and balance the ledger ourselves. No one gets away with anything, including ourselves. And isn't that so true when we're talking about Babylon, of pride? You know, the verse we know well in Daniel 4, is not this great Babylon that I have built for a royal dwelling by my mighty power, for the honour of my majesty? You know, I don't know about this image of gold and silver. I'm building a whole image of gold. You know, I'm going to last forever, my empire. Yet we know, don't we? It wasn't the case. Exactly as we're told here with this woe, the Medes and Persians, others that they'd afflicted, rose up and overthrew. And even Nebuchadnezzar himself. That's I really love that painting. It's a William Blake painting of Nebuchadnezzar. His madness. They shall drive you from men, and your dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make you eat grass like oxen. 7 times shall pass over you, till you know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whomsoever he chooses. See, Nebuchadnezzar was the ultimate in pride. He needed to learn. Verse 9. Woe to him that covets an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people. Thou hast sinned against thy soul. Woe to him that gains an evil gain, it says in the margin. You see, he's looking to insulate himself from troubles. He sets his nest on high where others can't touch him. And yet to do that, he's trampled over many others. Doesn't care about the impact on others. It's all about self-promotion. Told in verse 11, the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. The very nest egg that you've built up on high, that itself will condemn you. Verse 12, woe to him. This is the third woe. Woe to him that builds a town with blood, establishes a city by iniquity. It's all about building bigger and better at the expenses of others. Before, we saw there that it was a house. Verse 9, but now it's a town and it's a city. He's building bigger and bigger and better at the expense of others. Progress at any cost. And all that went on, the backbiting there. Not caring about others, about climbing over the top of someone to achieve a goal. It's the very reason that I retired early. Office politics is just unbelievable. And, the concept that's being described here of, climbing over the back of others to get where you need to be, to build that bigger, whatever it is, to have a bigger office or more people under you, or whatever it might be, at the cost of others. It got so bad, and where I was working there, I couldn't take it anymore. That's not the way that we should be living our life, and yet that's the way of the world. That's the way the world thinks they need to advance. Don't worry about the cost for others. Don't think about what we're doing with others, the backbiting, the stabbing. If it achieves my goal, well, it's a good thing. Well, God says, well, woe to those people, woe to those attitudes, because you won't be taking it with you. Verse 13, behold, is it not of Yahweh of armies that the people shall labour in the fire? People shall weary themselves for very vanity. So it's all for nothing. You can labour, you can do all these things, you can strive, spend every moment striving for gain. Yet ultimately, it's all for nothing. Yeah, that's a good one. That's right. Absolutely. I like this verse, and quite possibly you feel like this yourself. You've sown much and bring in little, you eat, you have not enough, you drink, and you're not filled with drink, you clothe you, and there's none warm. He that earns wages to put into a bag with holes. You ever felt like that? You roll up each week and you put your hand out for your wage, and it all just falls through your fingers. Where did it go? It's like putting money into a bag with holes. All is vain. Now, this is also quoted by Jeremiah. We said at the start that Jeremiah was around at the same time. The question is, who quoted who? Did Habakkuk quote Jeremiah, or did Jeremiah quote Habakkuk? Well, I think actually Jeremiah quoted Habakkuk. I'll explain why. Jeremiah talks about the broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken. So in Habakkuk's time, Chaldeans hadn't actually arrived at this stage. God said, I will raise up the Chaldeans in chapter 1, but they hadn't invaded at this stage. Here, Jeremiah is talking about Babylon being broken, talking about the people will labour in vain and they shall be weary. There's the quote from verse 13. Habakkuk's talking about attitude of encouragement, about focusing on the future and building up. We're told in verse 59 of Jeremiah that it was the time of Zedekiah, time of captivity. Because when he went with Zedekiah, the king of Judah, to Babylon. We know Habakkuk, he was writing during the time of Jehoiachin. They hadn't been invaded as yet. So I believe that Jeremiah is actually referencing Habakkuk here. Do you remember in verse 2, we talked about the runner? Remember in verse 2? Well, in that same chapter of Jeremiah, he refers to the runner as well. One runner will run to meet another. One messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that his city is taken on all sides. So there's another purpose of the runner. Well, verse 13, we said, you won't be taking it with you. Those who want to build up things, build up empires at the cost of others, won't be taking it with you. Why? For, there's another little important word, because the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of Yahweh as the waters cover the sea. See, that attitude that you're talking about, that attitude that you're showing of not caring for others, of building yourself up at any cost, that's going to be gone. It's all vanity. You're not going to profit from that because the earth will be filled with the knowledge. Now, it's interesting. There's an echo there. Only found this yesterday. I believe this is Habakkuk is an echo actually back to Noah. We're talking Habakkuk, the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of Yahweh as the waters cover the sea. God says to Noah, the end of all flesh shall come before me, for the earth is filled, not with the knowledge of the glory of Yahweh, but is filled with violence. I'll destroy them with the earth. How did he destroy them? With water. God acted. He judged these people. And the earth was filled with water. Here's exactly the same situation that Habakkuk is describing. The earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of Yahweh. God will act. These things that you're doing, this behavior that you're showing, it's a waste of time. Your end is destruction if you go down that path. God has acted in the past. We'll do so again. That's the reminder that Habakkuk is giving here. Regardless of their circumstances, regardless of what's going on in life, of what they are about to endure, God has acted and will act again. Verse 15, woe to him that gives his neighbour drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and makes him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. You see, it's about using and abusing others for your own benefit. It actually says that putteth thy bottle, it actually means to press, to attach your bottle to him. It's like forcing someone for your own benefit, that you may look on their nakedness. You want to expose them. You want to make them look bad in others' eyes. See, when you talk someone else down, what you're really doing is trying to talk yourself up. That's the attitude there. Self-gratification. Not worry about humiliating others. Verse 16, we're told, thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. You in turn will be exposed. Your behaviour will ultimately be exposed as well. As we said, no one gets away with anything. Verse 18. What profits the graven image that the maker thereof hath graven it, the molten image and the teacher of lies, that the maker of his work trusts therein to make dumb idols? Woe to him that saith to the wood, arise, awake to the dumb stone, arise, it shall teach. Behold, it's laid over with gold and silver, there is no breath at all in the midst of thee. So he's talking here about trusting in the power of your own hands. You prefer to worship your own creation, what you've built yourself. Now, ultimately, you're worshipping self. The work of men's hands. Interesting, Psalm 115, which is Hallel Psalm, sung after Passover. Why do the Gentiles say, so where is their God? To which the Jews answer, our God is in heaven. He does whatever he pleases. They're idols. Work of men's hands. They don't speak, they don't see, they don't hear, they don't smell, they don't handle, they don't walk, they don't speak. Those that make them are just like them. So is everyone that trusts in them. Exactly as we're being described here with Habakkuk. He says, God is in heaven. He is in control. Part of that psalm goes on, God is in heaven. O Israel, trust in Yahweh. Here's our help. House of Aaron, trust in Yahweh. Here's their help. You who fear Yahweh, trust in Yahweh. Here's their help. Can you see the contrast to the dumb idols or self, really, as we're being described here, of promoting self or trusting in self? There's no future in that. But trust in God. He is in control. Isaiah 44 is a classic. Won't go through it, but it talks about, doesn't it, of chopping down a tree. He plants it and rain nourishes it. It's like he nurtures it. He looks after this tree. He burns some of it. He takes it to keep himself warm. He makes a fire, then he makes a god with what's left. He worships it. He bows down to it. Part of the fire, part of it, he eats the flesh from it. He's satisfied. He warms himself. Oh, I'm warmed. I've seen the flame. And he makes a god. He bows down. He, deliver me, for you are my God. How foolish. None considers in his heart, neither is there knowledge nor understand to say, hang on, I've burned part of this in the fire. I've baked bread on the coals with it. I've roasted flesh and eaten it. Shall I make the residue an abomination? Shall I fall down to the stock of a tree? No one stops to think that we're worshipping ourselves, dying creatures. What's the point? What's the point in worshipping ourselves, something that's not going to last? Things made with men's hands. That's man's folly. Someone says, is there a God beside me? I know there is no God. I know not any. But, and here's the contrast again, isn't it? That little verse, little word, but. With everything that's going on in the world, people climbing over the top of each other, not caring about what impact they have on one another, as long as it's for personal gain. Despite the foolishness of man, self-promotion. It concludes, but There's one true God that's in control. It says, but Yahweh is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. And that's how he concludes chapter 2. He says, hush, let the earth keep silence. That's what it literally means. Hush. God is in control. Don't worry about what's the circumstances of life. God is faithful. So we can trust in him. We know the end result. There is the appointed time. It will come because God is faithful. Let all the earth keep silence before him. God is in his holy temple. Regardless of how we want to try and build our house up to the sky, it's God that is his holy temple. Everything else going on in life is just white noise. So that's the conclusion of Habakkuk chapter 2. But willing, in 2 weeks, we'll look at chapter 3. We'll see Habakkuk's prayer as a follow-up to all that's been shown to him.